hey, if you're a US citizen and you want to protect your retirement and you haven't got our free ebook yet, then you're really missing out. So click on the link in the description and find out how you can secure your retirement and your future today.
Hi guys, and welcome back. Good to see Adam and James with me again. This is a very important week this week because the 23rd of January 2024 is coming up, and that's when the banks have to be Basel 3-4 compliant. And there are a number of banks that we already know that are filing for bankruptcy. And it's very interesting how they're putting the narrative out there. They're trying to change the narrative. JP Morgan have put it out there that they're dealing with 45 billion hacks a day. So
Wow.
if their bank goes down, it will be because they were hacked. And this is why we've been sharing our experiences with you as to taking control of your assets. And we, as three individual young men, I mentioned about two young men and one old bastard, have decided to look after our assets in the form of gold and silver. I have a large percentage of mine in gold. That's my personal choice. There are a lot of people who watch this who will have it in silver. That's your choice. I have a number of silver coins, one of which is obviously very important. This is the Charlie Ward show silver coin.
I love that. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had these done, which we're going to be using during the charity golf event in 2024 in Spain. So for those people coming, they'll each get one of those. But it's important that we understand the value of gold and silver, understand why we are sharing our experiences of what we've learned. So with this, first of all, I'll hand over to James because he always shares a disclaimer.
Oh, yes. It's different every time, isn't it? I come up with all sorts, don't I? Yeah, for anybody, I mean, for people who've watched us before, they'll be sick of hearing this, but we have to do it. We just have to do it because there'll be a lot of new people that have never seen us before. So we have to say that we're not financial advisors. I'm sure we don't actually look like financial advisors. We've never wanted to be financial advisors. We've worked within the financial sector in the past, and we still didn't wear shirts and ties then, or give advice. We still didn't give advice then. It's all about education. It's all about being financially aware ourselves and then sharing that financial awareness with other people, with families and friends and customers, and helping them to be in a better place, to do what we've done. Everything we share is what we do ourselves. It's not. Did we
make any mistakes, James?
It's what, Charlie?
Did we make any mistakes on the way?
Oh, God, yeah. You did. I know most people have probably heard this before, but you're learning from them mistakes. But a lot of what we do, I think we do on a daily basis, actually, Charlie, quite a lot, is we help people not make the same mistakes as what we did.
Yeah.
We try and help them it's less costly, isn't it? Yes, you learn from mistakes, but you're better learning from our mistakes, not your own, because it can cost you, and it can really not just hurt you in the pocket, but it can hurt you mentally. Yeah. It's very much linked, isn't it? Your finances and your mental health. So that's what we're all about: financial education and awareness, not advice. We will never tell you what to do.
Yeah, I think it's that's a really good point, because what we want to talk about today is these questions that we get asked by people. We always say we don't give advice. We'll never tell people what to do. Actually, as we've said in the past, telling people what to do would be the easy option. But we want to empower people so that they can make their own decisions. And we often get asked, people say, look, this is my situation. What would you do in this situation? Or what should I do? And it's always difficult for us because we don't want to tell people what to do. Also, someone can say, look, I have a house I'm about to sell, and I've got a bit of a mortgage on it, and this is my situation. But there's so much more to someone's situation than just that. So we never want to tell people what to do, and we never want to speak into that situation specifically, because there's more to it. And everyone's different, as in their appetite for risk and how they go about things and how they manage things. So today we just wanted to give some scenarios, some situations, and some things to think about that we think people should consider and answer for themselves and get their own perspective on it. And we'll give you our thoughts for what it's worth with our experience. We find a lot of people struggle to navigate some of these things, and this tend to be the same things that crop up. We have
Rightly
like
so, though, Adam. Rightly so. 'Cause it's a
yeah,
minefield. Somewhere that when you start looking at pensions and things like that, trying to understand them,
yeah,
you know, you can understand why, and that's why people, a lot of people come to us, and they're not even customers yet. A lot of them, or not even customers, and they just like to use us as like sounding boards, really, which is fine, which is fair,
yeah,
which is great. We're here to help people where we can. They don't have to be customers. But it's just difficult, isn't it, Adam? And that's why we're doing this today, so we can hopefully people will get some nuggets from this. They'll get some golden nuggets. Yeah, they'll get some nuggets from this to help them to make them decisions. But because doing nothing is going backwards. Adam says this all the time. It's better doing something than doing nothing. But people sit on the fence for so long, the backsides are just in agony.
yeah.
You just need to get off that fence and make a decision and move and do something. Staying where you are, you're never going to get anywhere.
You know, I heard many years ago, the best thing to do is the right thing. The second best thing to do is the wrong thing. And the worst thing to do is nothing. And, you know, I think we've said this before, but we always talk about fight or flight. And you know, in situations, people either they fight or they flight. I think there's another F, which is freeze, and I think the vast majority of people freeze. They don't know what to do. They don't take any action, and that's why they may have a situation that they need to take action in, or they have some capital that they want to deploy. They just don't have the confidence or the know-how, and they don't do anything. And that's fine.
This fits pretty well with what I used to train salespeople 30 years ago. If you imagine coming to a T-junction on a road, if you sit and you don't know which way to go, and you just sit there, you will go nowhere.
Yeah.
Whereas if you turn left and you find it's the wrong way,
yep,
and you have the strength of character to turn round and go the right way, you will learn something and grow.
Yeah.
And if you turn the right way, then you know that it was the right way. Yeah. There's many times in our lives when we've turned the wrong way, and we've had the strength of character to turn around. And right now, that's what we need to do. Not sit and procrastinate, but to make a judgment to turn left or right. Only you can decide that. But don't be afraid of making a mistake, because have the strength of character to put that right and know for the future not to turn left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
True. Really true.
Well said. That's brilliant. We'll have to use that in the future, Adam. I think it explains it really well.
I think the solution, in a real practical sense with people's finances, we always find is start small. Using your illustration, Charlie, turn left, but you don't have to go 50 miles down the road. Go left, and if it's wrong, turn back after half a mile. You know, you don't have to commit to the whole, to turning left the whole way. And same with your finances. Look, if you're wanting to buy metals, start small. You don't have to do everything straight up. You can always increase. You know, if you find left is the right way, you can always keep going. But you always have the option to turn back. And that's what we find. People have this feeling that they have to do all in or all out, and they have to make this really big commitment and pull the trigger, and it's kind of do or die situation. And it just doesn't have to be like that. So the first thing we would say is take the pressure off yourself, start small. As you build, you will build confidence over time as well. You'll say, okay, wasn't that bad. And some of these unknowns become knowns, and you just build momentum over time.
The more you understand, the more knowledge you gain, the more confidence you gain. It's just it comes with it.
Yeah,
it's a given, isn't it, Adam? You know, and when you see it working, and you just think, oh right, okay, it's not as bad as what I might have thought it was. But what goes on in the human brain? It can, we're just emotional beings, aren't we? And I think the more you understand yourself and how you work, that can help you to move forward. I think if you understand the way you work, I know I do. And Adam knows the way I work, so he'll tell me, wait, stop it, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think, the more you
emotional.
understand that, the better.
Yeah, for sure. I think another big thing that we always get asked about, and rightly so, is people's retirement, their financial future. Because look, if you're of a working age and working ability, then you can change your current financial situation now by working more or working differently, and you've got more levers that you can pull. When you come to retirement, either that's because you want to or you have to, you don't have as many levers to pull. You've not got as much time on your side to make a difference, and going out and working might not be an option. So while you're of working age, it's about building something, sending money into your future so that when you get there, you've got something that can look after you. And it can be quite daunting for people. We often get asked about what should I do and here's our thoughts on it. We'll give you some really broad brushstrokes. For us, we would want to know exactly what our retirement accounts, our pension, whatever you call it, is on track to do right now. What does it look like? And have that kind of start conversation and say, okay, is that it fill me with confidence or does it fill me with fear? And do something about it. The other thing is we don't like things to be in paper assets. So things that are just built on some kind of confidence. We like things that are physical things that can't just disappear. That gives us confidence. Even if the value was less, but it was physical, that's what we'd rather have.
Well, physical things that there is a need for, there'll always be a need for. That's the way I look at it anyway. And it's not just assess your retirement or your pension or whatever. It's assess it every 6 months or a year and constantly keep checking it and making sure it's on target. Don't just don't just do it once and forget about it.
The other thing that's important to point out is Adam, James, and I are three completely different people. I've never, ever had a pension. Never, ever. I've never set aside. My grandfather, Frank Norman Ward, died at 100 years old. He died working.
Wow.
Because he loved what he did.
Yeah.
He found something he loved and he didn't want to stop. My father is 90 years old. He's still working because he loves what he does. I stopped working mainstream work when I was 40. I'm 63, 64 this year. I love what I do. I personally, I'm not planning for my retirement because retirement isn't in my vocabulary because I love what I do. And there are different people. Adam and I are very different in the fact that he's preparing for retirement. I'm not. And we both have the same idea about what we do to get to the end goal. And yet we have different life paths.
Sure.
And it's important to stress this to everybody out here watching. Some people will say, well, Charlie, I'm already retired. It doesn't make any difference. What matters is how we manage our lives right now. Adam's life path and my life path and James's life path are three completely different life paths. But at the end of the day, all three of us have decided that taking control of our lives, whether during work or whether during retirement, is our responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said.
I think that makes all the difference because I would say that we're in the minority of taking control of our financial world, our own personal economy, kind of past, present, and future. Most people, I would say, have been sold the dream that you go to work for a company for however many years, and then you retire, and then you live a nice life. It's a dream that I think in the beginning maybe worked a lot better. I don't think it works as well now for people as it did. Generations later, I don't think the same system supports itself. But if that's the position that you find yourself in, then make sure it is working for you. If that's the path you've chosen, which a lot of people have, A lot of people don't know there's another option, Charlie. They've not even looked at whether this is what they should be, the path they should be on, or should be on something else. So whatever you've chosen, still take responsibility for it. Whether it's your own path or a path that's been laid out for you, you can still take control of it and still say, right, this is going to work for me, and I'm gonna be in the driving seat.
You can always do something, from our experience, Adam.
Yeah.
Normally, for most people, you can always do something, no matter what age you're at. You can do something, and it's all about ultimately being independent as much as you can from the system. So no matter what happens with the system, you're okay. You and your family are still okay. That's the main aim for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Making people aware of this first, and then trying to help them with some direction to become independent in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And there's another point to that. We often get asked about state pensions.
Yeah.
And we just say, for us, if we were in that position, we wouldn't include what we are projected to get as a state pension in our calculations for retirement. It's better to not include it and get it as a bonus than include it and rely on it and then it not be there. State pensions, the more you look into them, very fragile. There's a lot of people taking out and not a lot of people putting in. And over time, that's going to get worse. So again, like James said, be independent of the system. Don't rely, as much as you can, don't rely on governments, institutions. Try and do it for yourself as much as you can. Now,
Adam, just one on that, mate. Just even 10 years ago, when we used to do financial planning for families, and we used to do that with retirement calculator, we used to put that in, and we used to include whatever retirement funds they had, pensions or whatever. I never used to include the state pension then for people. Never.
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago, because I just thought that's not, I don't honestly think that's going to be there in so many years' time. I just couldn't, it just wasn't safe to rely on that.
Yeah. It's a big gamble, isn't it, to say I'm relying on this, for something in 30 years' time or 20 years' time, when the numbers don't look good as to what's going in and what's coming out. So be independent, and there's levels to that. So I've only ever spoke to one person. It was a guy who lived in Spain, and he said he's not been involved with a bank for 5 years, doesn't have a bank account, and totally out of the system. But it kind of consumed his life. Like everything that was quite simple and easy took time, effort, energy. So you have to decide, look, is that for you? I would say for most people, that's probably not the best path for them. For you to decide, obviously. But you decide what level you do want to interact and how much you do want to rely on the system. Just make sure you are doing something, and doing something for yourself, because you will look after your financial future far better than anyone else will. Trust me, because it matters to you. It's your future and your family's future. So some corporation, you're just a digit on a screen for them.
Yeah, I think that's where we've gone wrong in general. I'll keep this really short, but we're just all so dependent on somebody else, aren't we? Some institution. I think we've been given that as a look. It's a must. It's what everyone else does. It's there. That's what you do. That's your life.
Yeah.
Whereas it isn't. It doesn't have to be that way. It isn't at all.
Yeah. Just one thing I would say, which is generally a good principle, because people ask us, should I invest in this, or should I do this, or should I split it this way? Diversification is a good principle generally. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket, and I think most people get that concept. But I also understand if people are frozen and sat on the fence and they've not taken action in even one area, the idea of diversifying and looking at several areas is even more daunting. So we get it. Again, what we would say is start small, start with one thing and just take baby steps, small steps, and you go, okay, now I understand that area. Now I understand precious metals, or I understand gold and silver. Let me look at other options. But just do something. Don't let the idea of it paralyze you to do nothing. please just do something, however small it might seem. Just inquire, you know, send an email, you know, just do something to build that momentum, because your financial future does matter. And
It depends
people are
on
living,
you.
I say people are living longer and longer, aren't they?
Yeah. Just do whatever it takes to get
Yeah.
there.
Mm.
But work on this first. So if
Yeah.
this isn't right, the way you're thinking, if that's not right, it doesn't matter what knowledge you gain or anything like that. If your mindset isn't right, you're not going to get anywhere. There was a saying we used to always say, if it's like if you've got a toolbox, if you don't know how to use the tools correctly,
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it anyway. But yeah, you've got to have this right first, the mindset first, and gain the knowledge and just work on both and just change that thinking. Do you know what? One of the things that scares me the most is we still speak to people that are saving in a bank and cash in a bank.
Yep.
For me, that's like,
you're scared of that. I spoke to a man yesterday. This is even scarier. He said, "Did you see all these people that are dying right now? These are the ones that are not vaccinated."
Wow. Yeah, interesting.
And this just shows you how the world is upside down, because they believe the liars that are out there. This is where you trust yourself. Learn what's yourself.
Yeah, very true. Look, I think we'll all agree we're drowning in information with the internet. You can research anything, something that you would, you know, that can be so specific, and you know, no one within a 100-mile radius of you has ever even heard of, but there'll be someone somewhere in the world and you can research, and they know exactly how this thing works. So we're not short of information. We're short on mindset and action. Those are the two things. And I think if you have the right information, obviously you do need good information to start with, and you can change your mindset and take some steps, then everything starts to move and everything starts to get better. So we just want to encourage people. We don't want this to be like, we're not trying to scare people. We just want to say, look, this is a big motivating factor and you can do something about it. And second to that, you should do something about it, because it matters, and it'll matter to you and your family as time goes on.
Yeah. And
you'd be pleased you did.
Yeah. For the 3,500 people who've worked for me in my life, they all know what I say to them. Life is like a sausage machine. What you put in here comes out here.
Yeah.
And if you put nothing in here, nothing comes out here. It comes about hard work. What you put into life, you'll get out. And I'll say it again. The socialists want everything that I have except my job. They don't want my job. They don't want to work for it. And that's where it all falls down.
Yeah, very true.